Business ownership has never been hotter, but how do you do it? That's where I come in. Allow me to guide you on your journey. Welcome to Ion Franchise. This episode sponsored by SEO Samba. Empower your franchise with predictable results and AI-driven marketing. Up next.
Let me see your thumb. Is it green? Dare I say movement?
Yeah. Movement is the right way to say it.
Invested all your money into this crappy idea and it didn't work? Well, that's why you have the blueprint. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another fabulous episode of Ion Franchising, and I'm your host, Lance Graulich. I want to always give you every resource to jump into entrepreneurship. I just so happen to think that franchising is an amazing option for almost everybody. I have a friend here today. He's a partner in Millionaire University. So you want to be a millionaire, why not go to Millionaire University? And his name is Brien Gearin. And Brien, welcome to the show.
Lance, it's a pleasure to be here, my friend.
I am excited to have you here and talk all about Millionaire University. But how did you get involved in this show or podcast, I should say, that's super successful, and this, I guess, dare I say, movement?
Yeah. Movement is the right way to say it, because that's what we think it is. That's what we are shooting to make it, and it's well underway in this country. But I got involved with Millionaire University about a year and a half ago, and it was kind of by happenstance. So I was on a podcast about almost 3 years ago now, and Justin and Tara Williams, they're the original founders of Millionaire University. And Justin found me through this podcast I had guested on, and I was talking about how to start and grow a digital marketing agency, which is my trade is digital marketing. I've owned an agency for going on 8 years now, serving local businesses and kind of being their small business growth advisor, if you will. But Justin had me on the show, and we stayed in contact for a few months afterwards, and we were getting along really well. We kept having phone conversations and almost like business dating, right? Where we're like, hey, is there something here? And so one day Justin said, hey, man, we need some help marketing this thing. We want to put the right people in the right seats, and we want to have the right people doing it. And he and I were getting along and asked for help with their marketing. And he said, while you're at it, come on as a partner with us. And then maybe if you want, you could also help us host the show. So that's also how I became a podcast host, where we're reaching about 500,000 downloads, listeners per month at this point. And me being
Amazing.
the say yes to just about everything, I said, oh, hell yeah, let's go. That'd be awesome. I can definitely help you on the marketing side. And I've never hosted a podcast, but I'd love to try it out and see where it goes. And here we are a year and a half later. I've been hosting with him and another one of our collaborators. And man, it's been awesome. But the movement we're creating with Millionaire University is just a ton of fun. And I think we're hitting it at the perfect time here in America, where so many people, whether they're young and considering college or, the trades, or just starting a business, or if they're in the 9-to-5 and they want to get out, or they've always had this business idea they want to act on, they never have. We want to be that vehicle to help them get there, show them that it can be done, and actually help them literally do the thing, which,
No, that's awesome.
Is
And talk about your story, in the world of franchising, all these lawn care type brands I have, we call the mow and blow business, right? Weren't you in lawn care? A little birdie told me that.
Yeah. So is kind of a funny path to entrepreneurship. When I was a kid and when I was growing up through middle school, high school, and into college, I had a little business in the summertime mowing lawns in my neighborhood. Bought my neighbor's old John Deere lawnmower, and I'd have anywhere from probably, 6 to 12 neighbors on average. And then whenever some of them would go on vacation, they'd call me up, say, hey, can you mow while we're gone? And I had this little business, and I loved lawn care. I mean, if you look at my lawn now, it's the finest yard in the neighborhood. I will have an ego with that.
Let me see your thumb. Is it green?
I should have painted it green before coming on here. But that led to, after college, I was a good little boy, did what I was told, go to college, go get a job. I ended up in corporate America. I fired myself after 6 months after they politely said, maybe you should leave. And then I ended up, ironically, in lawn care at a company with an entrepreneur who was looking to grow his business. And I was just applying as a job to be a technician to see if, hey, maybe I'll like this. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he said, if you have an entrepreneurial bone in your body, I'd love to open another branch of this company. And I was like, bing, 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 like, here's the opportunity. So for 2 years, I was assistant manager at this company, kind of learning the ropes from this guy who was a hardcore entrepreneur. And while it didn't work out in the end, it was organic lawn care. Hint, hint, it doesn't work. So I didn't feel comfortable selling that. But I kind of got my like springboard of like, all right, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I just don't know in what yet. So lawn care plays a big role in my life, past and present.
So Brien, that's a perfect place to sort of jump off. How do people know that are listening? I mean, look, at any one point, depending on the statistic you listen to, 65% of America wants to be their own boss, but so few actually act on it. And so how do people become successful? What is the reason? You and I were talking before I hit record here. I know that people need information, they need education, and that equates typically to action. But most people don't get the information and the education, which is really where you come in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Lance, the greatest slogan that was ever created in the history of the world was by Nike, just do it, right? That can apply to so much in all of our lives. Like, just cut the BS, go do it.
Yeah.
But in doing it, telling yourself to go do it is one thing, actually doing it is another. Yeah. And when it comes to entrepreneurship and owning a business or starting your own business, how do you do it, right? Like, who do you go find? And actually, that's the key. I already gave it away, is who. It's not what, it's not the idea, it's not the thing. Who do you go learn from to do the thing that you want to do? Because guaranteed it's been done, right? Like, you don't need to go spinning your wheels trying to think of the next great, amazing app that hasn't been invented before. Like, that's, unless you're Elon Musk, that's a nowhere road for 99.9% of us, right?
Absolutely.
So many businesses are out there, and this obviously applies to franchising. There's a blueprint. There's a way to do it. There's a way to success, and there still needs to be more people who can lead that success. But you need to learn from the people who have done it, and that's what we're trying to do here at Millionaire University is through Justin and Tara, myself, our collaborators, and the collaborators we continue to add to our team, is we want to show people and then actually help them do it. We're not just talking about it. These aren't PowerPoint presentations. It's not like college where you're just sitting there dozing off. We're going to give you the keys to have that millionaire mindset, and then you can actually go out and start the thing and come back, report back, tell us like, hey, I just ran into this problem with getting my LLC, or, doing this thing, or, applying for my first loan to acquire my first piece of equipment. We want to help you actually do it. So that's the movement that we're trying to push.
Yeah, there's a lot of steps, and everything from getting a business license to a contractor's license. I mean, depending on what business you're getting into. I mean, digital marketing might be a little easier, but I love what you said, and it's right on your website. Number one secret to success is hanging with people that have the blueprint. And that happens to be what franchising is, but not everybody's suitable for a franchise. Doesn't necessarily resonate with everyone. I think it can with 4,000 franchise brands out there, but it's like, getting married. When you're getting married, you have to pick the right spouse. You have to find the right franchise, what person or what, in this case, business resonates with you. So share a little bit about what are those steps. Is mindset the first thing you really have to sort of check off if you're a millionaire mentor as well? You're not just a partner. You're mentoring people. So is mindset the first checkbox when you're working with anyone?
Yes, mindset is the first place that you start at. And with our, we have our foundational course that launched last month. That is what this foundational course is about, is getting that millionaire mindset. It's so easy to get in your own way, right? Like mentally, like between your ears is where it counts. And if you don't have the mindset to take that action, then it's going to be incredibly difficult to get there. Like, when I was starting out, I wish I had this type of mentorship when I started out, because, man, probably for the first 4 years of starting my business and being in my business, it was all just me being in my own way. And honestly, today, there's times where I still get in my way. Like, as an entrepreneur, Lance, you know this, like, you're going to do things that get in your own way. Like, so many times, and I've spoken with so many entrepreneurs where they're like, any time that I've achieved or unlocked great growth is when I've taken myself out of the way. I've removed the wall that is named me, right? So yeah, getting in that mindset is step number one. And I think that in my opinion, the only way to do that is, like you said, to hang out with the people that have the blueprint. Because how else are you going to do it? Like it's the silliest thing in the world to me when people say, "Oh, I don't know how to do it, and I don't think I can get there." And it's like, well, first of all, you have to have this I call it an uneffable belief in yourself that you can do it and that you will do it.
Yes.
The next step is just figuring out how. And if you have the right people, and it's okay to cycle through different people, right? A lot of entrepreneurs, it takes time to find the right person or the right people, whether it's a mentor or another business owner, other entrepreneurs, maybe other groups that you've been a part of. It takes time for you to mesh with the right people that bring you into the right industry that you want to be in.
Yeah.
And if you don't find those people, at least in my opinion, it is extremely difficult to get where you want to go.
Brien, one of my favorite stories is after my first phone call with a new client, so to speak, that's looking at a franchise, I know that there's a chance that a percentage of the people that I speak to one time, I will never speak to again. And you know the reason for that, right? Because when I'm starting to give them information, they're getting off the call with me. And they're telling their spouse, their brother, father, sister, mother. And by the way, franchise owners today, business owners today, are trending so much younger than they were in the past. In the past, it was a 50-year-old man. Now, I'm working with lots of ladies and lots of people in their 30s. I'm closing a deal with a guy, just helped him find a great fence and rail franchise, and he's 29 years old. But what happens when they get off the phone, Brien? They tell their entire extended family and friends, "Hey, I spoke to this guy Lance, and he told me I could be a business owner." And guess what they tell him? "What are you, nuts? You failed 32 times, and remember you invested all your money into this crappy idea and it didn't work?" Well, that's why you have the blueprint. So what's your thought on that? How do you overcome when your entire friends and family network, you can't get a new family, right? But you can get a new network.
That's right. Unless you're creating more kids, you can't get yourself a new family, which I know to be true. I'm a father of 4. So yeah, it's one of those things where as an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, or franchise owner in your case here, there's going to be the majority of people don't get it. As an entrepreneur, I have found this to be true so often that, and this isn't to put down anyone who's a W-2 worker or does great work at other companies.
Right.
We need everybody in all the correct seats, right? But for entrepreneurs, talking to someone who is not an entrepreneur, they don't have that mindset or they're just not adjacent to it, it will be either ignoramus, like they'll just ignore you and be like, "Sweet, it's cool for you, bro," or they'll be like, "You can't do that. Like, what are you talking about? That's so risky. You're going to invest $100K in that? What are you, nuts?" Yep. But they don't see the potential upside. No. Entrepreneurs, business people, we see the potential upside, right? And when we know we're paired with the right people and we're getting that mindset that helps us to realize it, that's putting fuel on the fire. And it's crazy to me how often you'll run into that. And a lot of it, at least in my experience, a lot of it will be silent doubt.
Yes.
What I mean by that is people who will be like, "Okay, sweet. I'm totally rooting for you." And for those of you listening, I'm being super sarcastic because at the end of the day, I think a lot of people, you're living that risk that they wish they could take. And, it's just one of those things, man. You will encounter that. And if you know that you are with the right people and you feel in your heart that you're doing the right thing for you and what you want to do, then there's no reason not to go after it 100%.
Yeah. There is a thing to age. There's a reason that there are a ton of young, successful entrepreneurs, from Michael Dell to Steve Jobs and Wozniak and Larry Ellison, all these guys. They all started young and they had nothing to lose, right?
Right.
You're back in your parents' house or garage or whatever it might be. So Mark Zuckerberg, I forgot about that one, of course. So what is the next step to locating the who? What is the best takeaway for people listening now? So let's say, all right, enough of this, Lance and Brien. I got that growth mindset. I've been looking for years. I haven't found anything that made sense to me. What do I do now?
The next logical step, and I'll speak from experience, and also on behalf of Millionaire University, that's what we set out to be. We want to be the coaches, we want to be the people and the collaborators that you can rely on to help you get to that stage, whether it's at stage 0 or maybe stage -4, where you need to start getting to 0 so you can start building. That's what we intend to be. But the first thing you need to do is find the people or person who has been successful in the industry that you want to be in. So breaking this down, this could be if you're someone, let's say you want to get into business and you want to run a small home service company. By starting small, you need to find somebody, even if they're doing just a little bit of revenue or they've been in business for a handful of years, ask them how they did it. Befriend them, right? Say, hey, I've been following you for a couple months. I'd love to have a coffee or a phone call with you. I just want to learn about what you're doing. And start gradually getting this knowledge and compounding it, kind of like the compound interest effect. Gather this knowledge and start compounding it. And then eventually start talking to people who've been doing it longer and who have bigger companies and who have more visible success with it, and see how they did it. It's just literally just being curious and asking them. And I promise you, there are so many business owners, maybe not all of them, but so many of them who love it when someone reaches out to them and asks, how did you do this? Yes. I have aspirations and I would love to be like you. I want to be adjacent to you. Yeah. And it's something where you just have to go ask people. It's hard to say that, like Millionaire University, we're not the perfect fit for everybody. We acknowledge that. We're not the end all be all to building your business, but for a lot of people, we can be. But if you want to do something totally different, if you want to go into franchising, call Lance. Just reach out and say, hey, this is something that's been on my mind. I'd love to have a conversation, and then start compounding that knowledge. That's, without realizing it, the first 4 years of my business was just acquiring knowledge and building on it and applying it to my situation. So hopefully that's not too broad of an answer, but it's something for me, it was just compounding that knowledge was the absolute key. And it still is. I'm gathering knowledge from so many different people in my industry today. I just had a major shift in my business where we're starting to use artificial intelligence. Like, it's adapting, growing, and compounding that knowledge.
I love that. Yeah, and we're going to talk about Ricochet in a moment. When it comes to everything you said, I love that, and it wasn't too broad. When it comes to curiosity, I think that was the perfect word to apply, because the people that are stuck and don't take action, and they haven't started building their education or gathering the appropriate information or spending the extra time. It's a combination to me of curiosity. You have to be curious of what else is out there, and you have to take action, but you also have to sacrifice a little bit. I spoke to a guy the other day that said to me, yeah, I'm going to keep my job and I really want a franchise. I said, well, that's fine. You can keep your job. I have brands that are appropriate, which have great systems in place that you can keep your job. But you're going to have to be a leader, and you're going to have to manage your manager that you're going to hire to run the business full time. Well, that sounds like a lot of work, Lance. Yes. And with that answer alone, I will disqualify you from that. And he got silent on the phone. Well, what do you mean? And I was like, based on your answer, that's not going to work for you. So either you get more money so you can quit your job, or you get ready and confident in your ability to manage people, because that is the toughest job there is. Now, let's talk about that. Let's talk about people today. People, business owners today that have people, because what is the best way to build a business? Build a business that you don't have to be in every day managing every aspect. We're not talking about solopreneurship here. In home services, we call that chuck in a truck or stand in a van. Mm-hmm. So what is your secret to success regarding hiring, retaining great people, and managing them? And why is it not such a grind for you?
It's people is one of those things where, and I think it's Nick Huber talks a lot about this. If any of your listeners follow Nick Huber online, it's all about the people that you bring in and the way that you train them up and bring them into your culture. It's so easy to just think you can hire any Tom, Dick, Sue, or Sally and bring them in, and they're just going to run it, and it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
But then you realize they come in and things start breaking, and it's like, oh boy, like what are we doing here? But it falls back on you as the business owner. You didn't train them properly. They aren't you. They aren't in your brain. They don't know exactly how to do this sort of thing in your business. And at the end of the day, let's be honest, no employee or contractor, anybody who works for you is ever going to love your business the way you do.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that these people can't come in and can't do great work for you, because they value and trust you and trust the culture, trust you as the business owner to do the right thing, and that they're also going to be taken care of as well. So when it comes to the people, that's the absolute key. And I think it's when it comes to hiring, the traditional mantra is hire fast, fire faster. Is that right? Or sorry, hire slow, fire fast.
Slow.
Yeah, sorry. Hire slow, fire fast, or fire even faster
Yes.
when things aren't a fit. I think one of the biggest things that entrepreneurs run into is putting emotions into it, whether that's removing someone from a team or bringing people in and then not finding a fit. So there's someone I worked with in the past. They do a really cool thing where it's basically you come in and you have 90 days to decide whether it's a fit. And this is for both parties involved, where it's, it's so easy, and Lance, you've probably done this before too. I know I have, where you go and have lunch, you meet with a prospective person to come and work with you, you fall in love with them, they're like, oh, they get me, this is going to be awesome, we're like best friends already, and you pull the trigger, maybe a little too fast, and then 30 days goes by, 60 days, and then 90 days, and maybe by the end of that 60 or that 90 days, it's pretty obvious it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing that so many business owners do is they're like, they'll turn a corner, or I just brought them in and I can't let them go now. Like that'd be mean. Like I can't do that. And it's like, but you know what? Now you're suffering, and your business is suffering, and now your family's suffering because you're not making as much money, or et cetera, right? So it's the finding the right people, which is the hardest thing to do. And again, I'm finding in my business, it all comes back to the network I've built. So when I reach out to hire someone in my business, I reach out to my network. Who do you know? Who's great?
Yes.
Or who have you worked with? Or who do you know that is looking for an opportunity and they're looking to grow? And that's where I go first. Now, there's nothing wrong with going to Indeed or LinkedIn or hiring overseas as well. Nothing wrong with that at all. A little bit different processes involved with each, but man, it's way more comforting to be able to hire someone that you know they're going to do a great job.
Yeah.
And if they don't, you have the ability to be like, look, it's okay. We cut bait. Like it didn't work out. And that's one of the hardest things to do as a business owner.
Yeah, I always tell people, you've heard this before, your network is your net worth. And I mastered, it took me years. I mastered hiring from my network, getting out in front of it. But, always be hiring was my mantra. So I'm always looking for good people, and every time I found a good person, even if I didn't really have room for them, I had some big organizations I built, I would just hire them. And, the Jack Welch, I got Jack Welch's book behind me, one of the world's greatest CEOs ever. He used to fire, I don't know if it was 10% of his sales force every quarter. I think it was about 10% of his sales force. If you were on the bottom on the sales team, you were gone every quarter, that bottom 10%. So you did not want to be on the bottom, and that was my mentality as well. I'm going to hire somebody better, and that's amazing, and if you can't perform up to that person, you're going to probably make your way out of this organization. So I love that. Also, the hiring slow piece, I learned over the years, you can have multiple interviews with multiple members of your team. And if everybody agrees, everybody supports this hire, everybody wants this person to be on the team and successful, because nobody wants to waste their time. And that generally, either you see red flags or someone on the team sees red flags and the person's never hired in the first place. Or we collectively make a team decision that didn't work, and in which case the person's gone. So
yeah, I love that approach, because then that gets multiple eyeballs in the room. But at the crux of it is, these are the people that are going to work with this new person, right?
Yes.
And if they don't get along, or if there's not a match there, it doesn't matter how much you as the owner and like this person. If your team doesn't feel like they're going to get along with this person, that's a recipe for disaster. And that's so I love your approach on that, is bringing in the team, and that gives more buy-in to the people that work with you already.
So let me ask, what are some of the success stories, one or two highlights, if you will, of some of the folks that you've mentored or Millionaire University has mentored? And in other words, they come to you, they were what I call stuck, Chuck. They didn't know what to do or never felt confident in business. They're still at a W-2 job that they're hating. They come to Millionaire University, and X period of years later, they made it.
Yeah. So we're going to be a little premature on that because we just launched our foundational course last month. So we've got
but a story of a listener or somebody that you might have worked with at all.
Yeah, well, and I have a perfect example of that because we had a guest on our show. Oh gosh, when was this? Earlier this year, and he was teaching people how to start a in-home cleaning business, right? But not just that you're going to go grab a mop and gloves and go start cleaning houses. It's how to start this where you're not the one doing the cleaning.
Yeah.
And when he came on our show, did an awesome job. He was a cool dude to boot anyway. But we had a listener who reached out and said that, hey, I'd love to get in contact with this guy. We put him in contact with him, and he's now on his way to a 7-figure business within the year of meeting this guy. So that was one of those stories where, like, imagine this guy who I think he's maybe out of Kansas, somewhere in the Midwest, heard our podcast, our little old podcast, heard us speak with him, and got inspired to be like, hey, this is the gig. This is what I can do. This, if checks all my boxes, I've got to figure out how to do this. So he took action step number 1, which was reaching out to us at MU. Said, hey, I love this episode. This was awesome. Can I just reach out to this guy? And we're like, yeah, absolutely. But we'll hook you up with an email with him, and introduced him, learned from him. And now I'm pretty sure the last time I spoke to my friend John, he's on his way to a 7-figure business within a year of opening this home cleaning business, which is incredible. Like,
amazing.
This guy was working a 9-to-5, always wanted to be an entrepreneur, didn't know how to do it. And then he heard the podcast, he connected with our guest, and now he's on his way to owning a 7-figure business. Like, those are the types of connections that I know when Justin and Tara set out starting this podcast, and then especially when I joined in on the thought that if we can change just a few lives every month just by bringing on the incredible entrepreneurs that we talk to, encouraging them, and then the folks that we bring in our foundational courses, where if we can change your life in this manner, I mean, it's incredibly rewarding for us. And I know I speak for Justin and Tara when they say that's the whole point of doing this.
That's an incredible story and great accomplishment. I'd love to hear the follow-up on that. We'll talk again soon on that. Talk about Ricochet University and what you do. Ricochet Digital Marketing, your company.
Yeah, Ricochet Digital Marketing. So this is my business baby. I started it almost 8 years ago now. And it was one of those things where I had been around hopping to different jobs. One of the jobs I mentioned in lawn care, where I learned from this guy who was doing the entrepreneur thing, that really inspired me to be like, hey, maybe I can do this, but what do I do it in? And at the time I was working sales and marketing for my father-in-law, mostly sales. And I was like, what's this marketing thing? Like, this seems to be kind of the important side, a big important thing when it comes to sales. It's getting some marketing out there. So I took the action of finding a course on digital marketing, and it was like a entry-level foundational, this is what digital marketing course is. And then I was following a personal finance blogger who had sent out an email, said, hey, I'm putting out a course on how to run Facebook ads for local businesses as a side hustle, earn an extra $1 or $2K a month. And I'd be like, that's pretty sweet. That's some marketing. And I had just ran a course where you actually run Facebook ads inside the cohort for this education company. It was like a startup out in San Fran or something like that. And my ads finished in the top 5 out of like 5,000 students. And then
hey,
like
I'm good at this.
Later, yeah, like, oh crap, like maybe I'm good at this, and put my English degree to use, right? My useless English degree is now going to be sort of useful. I got that email and I was like, this is something I can turn into like a company, an agency. I could actually do this for people and make money. And that's when I jumped in, and these 2 guys that started this course, they became my mentors, my very first mentors, the people who showed me the ropes. They gave me a technical skill of which I did not possess outside of being able to grow grass. I didn't have many technical skills outside of that and interpersonal skills. And so I learned Facebook ads. I started this agency, and one of my mentors had a conversation. He's like, hey man, like, this is something you can turn into a legit business. And like, it looks like that's what you're trying to do. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm not here for a side hustle. I know that's the name of this, but I'm going all in. And I gave myself no plan B. And that's when Ricochet Digital Marketing was born. We grew into full service. So now we do website development, Google advertising, Google business profile marketing, Facebook ads, targeted direct mail and email newsletter marketing for smaller businesses. So typically businesses in the 1 to 5 million range, they need so much help. And that's where I've kind of found my niche. In the home services area is kind of our sweet spot. But the web development and Google business profiles that's our bread and butter. And the great part is I kind of built my agency backwards. So I have teammates in the chairs for everywhere else. And a lot of our clients tend to grow into the other areas of adding Google ads, of adding Facebook ads, of adding a new website, or adding email newsletter marketing. And it's been a really fun ride.
That's awesome. Well, you have been an amazing guest today, my friend, sharing your wisdom. Final tips, thoughts for our listeners today? Besides, of course, telling everybody where they could find you. We'll put all your info in the show notes anyway.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is kind of my go-to advice because it was the number one thing that I struggled with early on, and I know you and I talked about it earlier, Lance, was taking action. Taking that action is step number one, because if you do not take the action, nothing will happen. And I can tell you for the first few years of my business, I was too scared to take the action. I was too scared to tell people what I do. I was too scared to tell people I have this skill. And I was too scared to go on a sales call. Well, you know what? It resulted in like next to no business. So it was one of those things where I just had to grab myself by the collar and say, quit being a baby. It's time to go take action. If you're going to take care of your family, if you're going to pay your mortgage and you're going to do the career you want to do on your terms, action has to be taken. But then over time, I learned that it's got to be targeted action. You got to meet the right people. You got to learn the right things. But if you can just kick yourself in the butt and say, just go do it, you'll find out how to do it. You'll find the right people, and it will come to fruition. So that's my best advice there. But also for Millionaire University, I think that doubles as advice from us at Millionaire University as well, because we say it on the podcast all the time. Action is key, action over everything. But you can find us at millionaireuniversity.com. You can grab our free training. We have, there's so much in it, but one of them is 300 business ideas to get your jogging if you want to be an entrepreneur, but maybe you don't know where. We've got a great resource for you to figure it out and take the first steps to kind of guide you in that first action that you take. And also our foundational course that I mentioned a couple times, buildmymoneymachine.com. Hop on in. We have, it's about a 90% discount on getting in on our foundational course. And Lance, like we discussed earlier, it's talking about getting in that millionaire mindset. This is working directly with Justin and Tara, the Millionaire Mentors, on figuring out exactly how you can channel your inner millionaire, even if you're not there yet. But we feel that without this foundational knowledge, without this foundational mindset, it'd be very difficult to achieve the goals that you have. So, we'd love for folks to hop on in, buildmymoneymachine.com or millionaireuniversity.com.
Love it. When you said just do it, like Nike, a friend of mine, Ann, who was a mentor of mine, used to say JFDI. That's all she'd say. There was one extra word in there or letter, and it was meant to be just focus and do it. But what it really meant is just freaking do it.
Yeah.
Because, you need that grit to get into business ownership because there's work there. And you were amazing today. Thanks for being here, my friend, and look forward to talking again soon, okay?
Yeah, Lance, this was awesome. Thank you so much for having me. On behalf of everyone at MU, this was an absolute pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you.
If you're ready to talk about franchise opportunities, hit the link below to schedule a call. My services are free. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for listening.